There we go.
Good morning, everybody. It is July 20th, the next to last Wednesday of the month. July's gone by fast. This is and Padulce, in case you were wondering. I'm sure I butcher it every week, but that's tradition, just like Christian forgetting to do the toast. But
that's right.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Dr. B. Good morning, Christian. How y'all doing?
Good. It's good. It's so great to see Dr. B again. You look so like refreshed and young. Are you like at a spa or what's going on here? It's
my spa is Colorado. Colorado is that's a spa, man. In fact, we here in Colorado, we live right next to a yoga center, so their vibe kind of comes over. It's like, they're all about the little sound bowls and gongs and all that. So I'm sure it rubs off. Plus, I steal some of their herbs from their little garden sometimes.
Well, I was going to
keep you healthy.
All right. Well, it is Colorado. That's another show.
No, these are eating herbs, not smoking herbs.
Okay.
Well,
I wasn't going to suggest.
I have a good friend that I worked for in Texas right before I moved here, but he is an entertainer and he works in Vegas and in Southern California a lot. And he drives there and back because he has so much equipment. But anyway, you never trust his like brownies and Rice Krispie treats. You automatically assume that it has a special oil in it.
There you go.
I'm so hungry right now. So yeah. I'm just.
I was at lunch with an old geezer buddy of mine. And he was talking about how, he had trouble sleeping. So he's taking this stuff that he kind of got in the mail. And I thought he was talking about CBD, right? And so he said, "Oh, here it is, a little gummy. Take a little bit of it and see what you think." And I'm humoring him, so I take a little bit, and 10 minutes later, nothing. And so he said, "Well, take a little bit more." So I popped the whole thing in. About 30 minutes later, I just kind of couldn't see straight. And it turns out that was the real McCoy. I was like, whoa! I didn't know where I was about the next 4 hours.
I'm so anxious to try a brownie. I don't know why. That just seems like the best of both worlds, a brownie and whatever. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I guess we should start the show. What do you think?
Start the show.
Absolutely. All right. Sounds like very good.
Well, welcome everyone to Coffee Pan Dulce. I'm Christian Cano, one of your co-hosts, along with Jenny Gunn, Barb Bacon, Mama Ruth. We're Mama Ruthless today, and we're waiting for Barbara to join us. This is actually her show. So this is our second annual Barb's Viewers Choice show. Last year, it was like our second highest rated show. And of course, she demanded that we bring back, or we asked Dr. B to come back because she wanted to talk about some very important topics. And we want to thank Dr. B for joining us. He's actually in an undisclosed location. Or I don't know if you want to tell us where you're at. I don't know how to go that way. All right. Where am I at, Jenny?
Well, I know where you're at, but I'm not.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Either. But we are at the point where we do our buttons and our causes. But we can.
That's right.
If you would like.
No. Okay, no, let's do that first. You're right, Jenny. I'm sorry. You think I'd have one of his gummy bears. Okay, so let's go around the Brady Bunch screen. And before we do that, because we need to drop this, because I'm having a hard, tough signal where I'm at. Camping Bernie, that's his name for this month. He is there, and we will be losing him. So bye, Camping Bernie. It's great to see you camping. And let's go, Jenny, and then Dr. B, tell us your causes. 30 seconds or less.
Well, hey, I am part of the board of directors for the National Organization for Women, which is a very important fact. I'm wearing my T-shirt tonight that has the little logo on it, but you can't see it because I'm all head right now. But yeah, also part of the team for Charlotte Pride and several other LGBT organizations, including Equality North Carolina, which we're a political action committee to help elect progressive and forward-thinking candidates for office here in the great state of North Carolina. Dr. B?
Yeah, I don't have my button, but my number one advocacy is Medicare for all, just to provide healthcare access to everybody in the country and save so much money that overall we'll be spending less than we're spending more. And I'm certainly big on handgun violence or gun violence in general. I mean, it's just unconscionable, all these things that we've just become to accept as a daily occurrence, a mass shooting. So that's just ridiculous. And of course, with the other kind of things the Supreme Court's doing, I'm concerned about women's health care access for reproductive health care. There's just so many issues. I mean, kind of any progressive issue I'm trying to support, voting rights, all these things. But primarily, above all, it's Medicare for all. It takes up most of my time.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. B. And I'm Christian Cano. You're the co-host. My buttons are Medicare for all, healthcare for all, Moms of Inaction, Gun Sense legislation. And then, of course, you may see this, as Dr. B said also this summer. This is one of the signs that I'm sitting around the corner, and we have another sign that says Real Men Support Women. So, we'll see what we can do to help reproductive rights. And actually, that was going to be one of our top 3 topics. But before we do that, let's salute to our neighbors this morning, whatever you're drinking. I am drinking this. And also, we do want to thank Manolo's Bakery, our producer, sponsor, and supplier. Jenny, this is a different one. So Manolo's Bakery, this is a concha.
Wait, that looks like the same one you just scraped the pink icing off there. Because you still left some pink on the front of it.
Yes, can you see that?
Is this like the fruit cake of Mexican pan dulce?
Is probably on his 3rd birthday. Just so you know,
that's right.
He's refreezing it when he forgets to go by Manolo's or can't go by Manolo's in this case.
Yeah, I can't. So,
but yes.
Okay.
That is the fruit cake of the Latinx bakery world right there.
All right. So Manolo's Bakery in Charlotte, North Carolina on Central Avenue. Please support your Black and brown small businesses, or all small businesses. Always buy local wherever you are. All right. So that's all. Now let's go to our three current events. If you want to jump on any of these, and we're going to do something unique here. The first current event, if you want to comment, is Lauren Bobbitt, Congressperson Bobbitt from Colorado. Apparently, either she's done a book that's coming out, or I'm not sure exactly what's coming out, but she tries to explain or justify her husband exposing himself. And so I don't know if you want to comment on that. I haven't really read it, but Jenny, I don't know if you have that. Also, Attorney Alan
Dershowitz.
All right, good. Thank you. Alan Dershowitz said that he is very upset because he is no longer invited to Democratic events where he lives. He's also not been invited to parties in the Hamptons, and he says that he's being canceled, and he's upset because the Democratic Party has canceled him. I don't know if you want to
what a
comment on that.
surprise!
Yes. The last one is a person by the name of, this is very interesting, the last one, and we're going to wait to play this video until you can comment on the other two. Christian Walker is the son of Herschel Walker, who's running for Senate in Georgia, and he has become like the moral spokesman for the Republican Party. And so if you've heard about what he's been doing, you've got to watch him just because that's all I'm going to say. So anybody want to comment on the first two, and then we'll jump into the last one?
I got dibs on number one because here in Western Colorado, I am in Lauren Boebert's district, which is an enormous district like West Texas. It includes almost the entire left half of the state, which is all cows and cowboys, and a few progressives around Aspen and this valley area. So yeah, Lauren Boebert. I mean, the big news around here, you may remember that she had this restaurant that her mother started called Shooter's Grill, and she required that all her waitresses pack heat. And so, that there's just kind of basically what she campaigned on is everybody needs a gun. So the restaurant has been closed because she did not own the property, and the owner of the property did not renew her lease.
Oh,
and
wow.
There's all sorts of talk about, well, who's he? And is this political and all that? And of course she's saying, oh, we're going to come back and whatnot. But people are just kind of rejoicing that restaurant is finally shut down, even after it had already been fined in the past for food poisoning and things like that. So I've not heard about this book or an issue with her husband. But I will research that. I mean, if it's not in the local papers around here, it's hard to imagine. But no, interesting. They just had a primary here a couple of weeks ago. And so most of the Democrats were changing their affiliation to unaffiliated so that they could vote in the Republican primary against her. But even with that, even with this crossover of Democrats voting in the Republican primary, she still won like 65 to 35 or something. I mean, this base and the rural, western part of the state is just solid as could be. And she's running. She'll run in the general election in November against a very good guy from Aspen, but he's a good guy from Aspen. He's a white guy from Aspen, and probably outside of a 50-mile radius here, and nobody will pay him much attention. So she's probably going to win re-election unless she is found to have done something in the January 6th thing. But so far, I haven't heard another word on that, so I really don't know. So that's my bit on Sweet Lauren.
Okay. Jen, you want to comment on that one?
As far as Bobbert or Bobert or whatever her name is.
Bobert.
Hey, so Jen, do you know what that episode, what happened?
Yeah.
What was that?
So
okay.
When he was a teenager, and I guess they were dating, and I think he was like in his mid-20s or whatever. He was drunk at a bowling alley and he dropped his pants and showed his genitalia off at a bowling alley. So I mean, class.
Yeah.
But he did get arrested over it. He did get charged and he did get convicted. He is a convicted sex criminal. And he has a history of criminality. He actually has been convicted on more than one account of different indecency stuff. Mm-hmm. What a shock. I mean, they're just so opposites. But she was one of the girls present. There were minors at the time. I believe she was about 14 or 15. So were the other girls in that range, 14 and 15, when he showed, family values party.
She ended up marrying him. So
they ended up getting married. She got pregnant.
I mean, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, he was, at least he's got transparency. He showed the goods up front. I mean, I don't know. She ended up being pregnant. She ended up dropping out of high school and raising the baby. In fact, she got her GED right before
that's right.
She got elected. In fact, that's another one of her controversies is they think she attempted it more than once. And finally, from what I understand, the state of Colorado just kind of showed her mercy and passed her. Says a lot. You don't have to have a college degree and be in Congress. Mm-hmm. But
I don't think you have to have anything to be in Congress.
Yeah. Well, clearly, I mean, with Matt Gaetz, Bobert and MTG and the stuff, you don't have to have much.
All right. How about Alan Derkovich? Anybody want to comment on that? I know Barbara's trying to join us, so I'm trying to stretch it so she.
Barbara looks like she's getting mugged or something. I hope she's all right.
There's a wrestling.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Barb. Yeah.
I can't see you, but I can hear you. I'm at my neighbor's house.
Okay.
So I have no internet, and I'm like, oh my God.
Oh no. Okay. So thanks, Barb. Yeah, we can hear you, Barb. So.
Okay. All right.
Maybe you can we can see what you're looking at. We can't see your face.
You have to turn your phone. Turn your phone around because we can see. Punch that little button so it does like a selfie. Yeah. Okay. While she's doing that, Jen, you want to comment on Alan Derkovich or?
We'll continue doing this pesky little show.
Exactly.
But anyway, woo! This one's going in the weeds fast.
Yes.
So Dershowitz, he's just a sap. It's another narcissist that's going off about that they're being canceled. You canceled yourself, dude. Like if you represent Trump in any way, shape, or form, you have it covered. I mean, what kind of moron that has a law degree would represent Trump? I mean, between Rudy and Dershowitz and all these other fools, I get it. It's fame, it's money, it's all that sort of thing. But you get what you get. I mean, if you fuck around, you end up finding out a lot of the times. I mean, that's how the rules go. I mean, but I'm kind of tired of some of these celebrity wannabe politicians and fame chasers whining about that they go head first into these type things, knowing that Trump is a scumbag.
Exactly.
And then jump into it and then wonder why nobody wants anything to do with him. Well, so your association with him is also going to put you in a toxic mode. I mean, this guy led an attack onto our Capitol building to stop an election processing. I mean, You can't get much lower than that. So 0.0 sympathy. Here's my little violin playing right now. I hope you fall into the ocean in the best possible way. Just saying.
All right. So, Dr. B, do you want to comment on the Alan Durkovich?
I'll leave it at that. He's not worth. I don't live in his district. I don't need to comment on him.
Well, and Barb, I don't know if you can hear us, but the two topics we've talked about is Lauren Bobbitt is writing some memoirs. And in her memoirs, she's explaining how her husband.
It's interesting you would confuse these names because her name is Bobert. Okay, and you're saying Bobbitt, and Bobbitt is the lady.
You know what she did?
Yes.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Yeah,
it's a Freudian slip. I apologize.
Very much. If there ever was one, that was it.
Right, frankly,
That's funny.
Right, frankly, there maybe should be some more of the penis cutters. Maybe abortion wouldn't be such an issue.
There you
if
go.
Women took it in their own hands. Just saying.
Okay, so Barb, you want to comment on any of those before we talk about this third topic, and we'll do it real quickly, and then jump into your topic for today.
I think we can just move on since I'm so late. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, that's fine. I understand. So the third topic is Christian Walker, who's the son of the Herschel Walker. Used to play for the Dallas Cowboys and all kinds of stuff. A Heisman Trophy winner from Georgia, is not a very intelligent individual. Apparently has the same problem of telling the truth that Trump does. According to the Atlantic Journal-Constitution, he's told so many fibs and lies. So his son is very outspoken. He's like a conservative influencer. And his son recently said that he likes men, but he doesn't want to be called gay because he doesn't believe in the purple. He's like very homophobic stuff that he's saying, and he got into a big squabble or argument with a singer in LA at a Starbucks this past weekend, and he posted it. So I'm going to play the video that he posted, and I want you to just look at him. And this is the individual that MAGA conservative Republicans are not criticizing.
Sure.
But they're making fun of drag queens and calling gay people groomers and all kinds of stuff, but no one is commenting on him. So let's see if we can do this. Jen, tell me if this works on your end. We're going to share screen. Tell me if you can see that. Can you see that?
It's coming up.
Okay, all right.
You have started.
All right, so I'm going to go. This is actually his video.
Great.
I'm trying to get it right. Here we go. Can you see that?
This is him. Lord Bobert.
Here we go.
Yeah, you got a Bobert thing.
Oh, do I really? Is that who you see?
Yeah.
Okay. Now give me 1 second.
Just have to find the right one on your.
Yeah. Can you see it's like loading from Instagram?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So give me.
We have all the confidence.
Yes.
We just need some gummies. We'll be good.
Yes, that is true. So
I could hook you up.
I can do it. Here's another one. I can do this.
Won't hurt my feelings at all.
Yeah. So
there we go.
See if this loads.
Oh yeah, it's coming up, I think.
Okay.
It went back in the closet.
So, yes.
Don't you love modern technology, Christian?
It was playing like it was. Yeah, it was playing earlier, and I'm going to close.
Can't you just punch the little white triangle?
Which one is it?
Well, click on the white triangle in the middle.
This is play.
Where do you see that at?
Well,
okay. I think you're seeing that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to push this. Okay.
Now we're on TikTok.
Okay.
I'm glad to see I'm not the only one with technical difficulties.
All right. So talk amongst yourself. And Jenny, tell me what you think about this, and then I'll play the video. So tell me how you feel about this individual, or if you have any comments on this individual.
Well, I honestly don't know a whole lot about him. I scanned Twitter while we were figuring out what was what. But from what I understand, he got into a scuffle at the Starbucks or an argument or something like that. Made an absolute ass out of himself.
Yeah.
But then again, I mean, he's Herschel Walker's son. I mean, we would hate for for Baby Walker to get left out of the family business of off the cuff nonsensical things that are being said. I mean, as we all know, as somebody that grew up in a Dallas Cowboys household, I was in high school when Herschel was playing for Dallas, and it was an every week controversy with him. He between domestic violence issues and just absolutely out of left field wacko things that would drop out of his mouth. The Dallas couldn't trade him fast enough when Jimmy Johnson then took over. About the first thing they did was trade him for a passel of draft picks and actual active duty players, which pretty much propelled them to the Super Bowl. And Herschel definitely wouldn't have. The team got worse after he started playing for them. So, and then Minnesota got saddled with him, and he was an absolute nightmare there too. And it's not really because of his physical ability. It's the fact that he was very, very toxic of a teammate. He was not very professional, caused a lot of problems in and out of the locker room. And pretty much if anybody has half a brain in the state of Georgia, they will vote early and vote often to vote this guy, keep him from beating the incumbent Democrat. I mean, you definitely don't want this guy representing your state. He doesn't even live in Georgia anyway. He lives in Dallas. And so it's another Republican carpetbagger, trying to jump in like old Dr. Oz up there from Turkey / New Jersey / New York City / maybe Pennsylvania every once in a while, where he has a lake house or something like that.
Well, how does he even qualify to run?
Well, in the Senate, you don't have to live in the state when you run for it. I mean, we had the whole controversy with Hillary Clinton. She ran for
New York,
the New York Senate, and obviously they are qualified to run because the Senate doesn't have the same rules, I believe, as the House does. And so it's a little bit of a different deal. You
want me to see if I can play this video?
Yes, yeah. I got it. I see you. Thank you, Dr. B. I can't hear it, but just. So,
good Lord.
So I can't hear it on my end, but you can just see from his.
Yeah.
So
he is a very troubled young man. They obviously, just based on the reports I was reading on Twitter while we were all talking about this, they went unhinged onto a Starbucks, I believe a guest or an employee, I'm not sure which. And of course she fired back and clearly proved, I believe that this person named Kalani is what fired back, is who the person that fired back. But I think in the exchange, she did refer to him as an asshole. But clearly, everybody viewed the videos that this guy's put out. He's proved it, that without a shadow of doubt, he is an asshole. And so, there's just, when you're harassing a barista, this Kalani is a barista. I mean, what? And you're a no name that's the son of a well-known former professional athlete. Why would you run your mouth? Just go order you some coffee.
Yep.
Get a side brownie of shut the fuck up. And don't have people that are making $8.50 and barely making their life, working at a Starbucks, probably going to college, and just you're taking a bully platform and you're punching down on somebody, and it's just pathetic and sad.
So Dr. B, thank you for taking over there for a while. Obviously, I'm having a lot of technical difficulties, and we'll get all this edited out when we actually drop the show. But I'm glad that you were able to see his expressions and see who he is, because what he posted before this incident was that he thought that Pride Month and Pride flags were anti-American. And he got into an argument at this Starbucks because he was in line and they had a Pride flag still out. And he said, Pride Month is over. I'm going to bring them an American flag because they're so un-American. And the person in the car in front of him was a singer. And she turned to the Starbucks person and said, oh, that's that a-hole from TikTok. He heard that, got all bent out of shape, went over there and started, we call trying to read her. And then he came back and she said, just, you're a fool, things like that. So he's kind of made the whole weekend to get publicity. But when you start looking at what he posted, it's very homophobic. It's very, groomers, all the stuff that they had been saying. But he is like the gayest person I have ever seen. And I know by saying that, I don't know, Jenny, you can help me because we had a conversation before the show. It was like he's doing everything so, I don't know. It's hard for me to watch him.
It's over the top and flamboyant. I mean, not to mention just ridiculous, but obviously the people on Twitter, the Twitter world, are definitely not taking Walker's side on this. That they're overwhelmingly siding with the barista, obviously. But here's the thing. If you're a famous person, no matter who it is, I'll take myself for example, being at least Charlotte famous. People, one, are always watching. Number two, act as if you deserve your fame. If you're going to take on the responsibility of being well known and being an advocate for a community or something like that, don't sit there and make a fool out of yourself at a Starbucks. Don't go out like some kind of clown. Whether he's flamboyant, whether he's gay, whether he's straight, whether he's just a dinkus. If you still have a responsibility, if you are a patriot, and you really are a patriot, go join the military.
But you know what? Hey, Jenny,
and face down gun shooters. Do something besides flip out of the Starbucks. You're not proving anything by screaming at the Starbucks employee. There is no patriotism in making an ass out of yourself and handing somebody an American flag. The American flag means nothing.
But isn't that?
Words.
But Jen, isn't that very hypocritical that they are complaining about the Pride flag, but yet they say nothing about the people who have Trump flags? I mean, these are people who have a flag that doesn't even have an American flag on it. Anyway, so we can talk all day long about this. It was just such a topic.
How about the people that wear American flags as underwear? The people that wear American flag boxers. Okay. I mean, how about the people that wear bandanas? Like if you really revere the flag, besides the fact that you've attacked a federal building on January 6th and beat one of the police officers to death with a flag in your hand. Besides all that kind of kookery, the fact is a flag is just a symbol. If you want to be a good American, start by being a good neighbor and not harassing baristas at a freaking coffee shop.
Okay, Jen, I need to. We're way over. I need to take a break. So we're going to take our first break. We'll probably only take one break during the show, and we will be right back in about 30 seconds on Coffee Pan Dulce. We'll be right back. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching our Coffee Pan Dulce show every week. Don't forget you can watch us visually on our video podcast platforms on Facebook and YouTube, but you can also listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and all of the other ones that your favorite, whatever your favorite is. Once again, thank you for watching us on Coffee Pan Dulce. We'll dance out. All right, welcome back, and thank you so much. We talked a lot about that, and we want to value Dr. B's time. So this show is the second annual Barb's Viewers' Choice Show. Last year, it was our second highest viewed show, and hopefully you'll rank up there again this time, Barb. And now that we're on the audio podcast.
Now that I can finally be here.
Yeah, exactly. So, Barb, what topic do you want to talk about?
Well, I asked Dr. B to discuss this new surge in COVID, and then something that has been a real personal, I'm getting attacked by some of my friends and neighbors because they've become I call them mini Republicans because they are not going to get boosted. And I don't understand this because, well, I had this happen to me when I had my vaccines. I said, well, what did you do about it? So it's more the adverse drug reactions that people are claiming to have, and what doctors should do, what we as consumers, patients should do. It's like we're going backwards, and I don't really understand it. And I thought maybe if we made people more aware, because it's been so fractured, and now everybody's at home taking home tests, and what are they doing? And if they're positive, are they following the guidelines? If you have a reaction, do people even know what to do? I mean, I got attacked at a neighborhood function here, and I'm like, this is crazy. What is going on? So I don't know. That's kind of my whole focus. But
Okay.
yes, we're having another surge, and I thought Dr. B, since he's a doctor, could help.
Excellent. Dr. B, solve our problems.
Well, the reason that Barbara is in this situation she is because everyone is. And so I read up a little bit more than I typically do about this. I kind of watch, the headlines and whatnot, but it's gotten to the point that digging into detail isn't really going to kind of get you very far. And what exemplifies the whole thing is that you have an expert at like the NIH, and then you got an expert at the CDC, and then you got an expert who's the Harvard leading viral epidemiologist, and they all don't agree because it's unclear. And so what's the general public supposed to do? Which one of those do you follow? And I think the biggest concern is, sure, there is a little bit of a surge, and there are more daily deaths. A couple of weeks ago, I was feeling good because, only 300 a day are dying from COVID. That's still, what,
A lot.
300 times 10 is 3,000 a month.
Yeah.
That's a lot to just kind of routinely be dying of this disease. And so now it's up to like 450. It's like, well, that's no good. The cases are up a whole lot higher than that. But the thing that let's say the calm scientists are saying is that the vaccines are really doing a great job in that even though more people are sick, we don't have as many going to the hospitals. I don't know of any hospitals that are putting people in the hallways like they did a year or so ago. And they're even though there are 450 people a day dying, that's better than, what was it, 3,000, 5,000, something like that a day at the peak. So the big question is, okay, we are having a little bit of a surge, what to do about it? And the issue is then for folks, particularly of my age, over 65, should we get the fourth shot? Because I've had the 2 vaccines and I had a booster. And should I get the 4th shot? Or should I wait until maybe September, October? Maybe there's going to be a new strain of virus, of vaccine that's specific to these variants, these BA4, BA5 things, which are just different types of Omicron. And so that's a big question. Should you get another vaccine now or kind of wait? And complicating the issue further for a lot of people like me is that on Mother's Day, I got COVID. And so my wife and I were both sick, and we were sick as pups for about 3 days. Got the pulse oximeter, worried about, we're going to have to go to the hospital, but toughed it out, felt like the devil, and, got over it. So that gives us a certain amount of immunity, but nobody's sure how long that's going to last or whether that immunity protects us from these BA4-5 variants, because back in May, that was not the dominant strain. So there are all these, like Rumsfeld used to say, there's a bunch of known unknowns. And there's a whole bunch of stuff we just don't know the answer to yet. Like how long is my natural immunity from being sick going to carry? And to what degree does the immunity I got from the vaccines and 1 booster protect against what's out there now? So it's hard to know. And I think what it boils down to is if you are really old, I'm not quite there yet. If you're older than me, and particularly if you have any sort of immunocompromised kind of state, chemotherapy or, kind of whatever, yeah, I'd go get another shot today. If you're kind of healthy and doing okay, and you've had at least 1 booster, it might be okay to kind of wait until the fall and, another couple of months and see if a better vaccine comes out. But there wouldn't be anything wrong with going to getting that 4th shot right now. And short of that, we back up a little bit. And I think it's only, good Lord, a pathetic, only 25, 30% of people over 65 have even had both vaccine shots, the original first two. So we still have a huge number in the population who do not have the basic immunity because they got one shot and then they didn't go back for the second one, much
Right.
less a booster. So, you find where you are in that category based on your age, your overall health status, and then your vaccination status. And I see no reason, no overriding reason not to get another booster now, but also there's good reason to say, let's wait and see if something comes out. So that's a lot of information that's hard for the average person to put together. And it's easy to be critical. And if people had any sort of mild reaction from the first vaccine to say, oh, I'm not doing it again, I think that's ill-advised. I don't think that's very, very smart. But it's a confusing situation. We're probably going to be stuck with this stupid illness forever, kind of like the flu. There's going to be little variants of it. Some years is going to be worse than others. But I think that's kind of where we are with it.
Well, Dr. B, thank you so much for that. And I, coming from a pharmaceutical background,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to say to people either because there's too much information out there. But all of a sudden, there's not consistent information, and where do you go for it?
Yeah.
But I guess what concerned me the most is one of my neighbors got seriously sick from the second vaccine, so has not been boosted, but walks around now with no mask and does whatever she pleases. And she was so self-conscious before and protecting herself. And I just feel like the atmosphere is, people are tired of it. They're not being as careful. They're not cautious. Nobody from the federal government is out there every day saying, well, here's really what's going on and giving direction. It's just willy-nilly, and people are allowed to fend for themselves.
Yeah.
And
well, I'm afraid that's just kind of where we are because, the pandemic is not over, but it has calmed down substantially. And being as sympathetic as I can to like the federal government, they can't constantly be coming out and just beating you over the head and say, you got to do this, you got to isolate, you got to wear a mask, close down the school. Or pretty soon people are going to totally turn against them and just turn a blind eye. So my sense is that the government is kind of trying to hold off and say, people not wearing masks and people not doing this, it's not good, but it's not the end of the world. If we see a huge surge, if there's another variant that starts killing people and filling up hospitals, then the government's going to say, okay, now we got to act. Hammer's going to come down. We're going to shut down again. There's going to be indoor mask requirements all around. But until we get to that point, it's kind of like, how much pestering of everybody and nanny state and whatnot, can they do when it's not as critical as it was before? So that's kind of why I think. Go ahead.
Hey, question. I have a question for you, Dr. B, and also Barbara, and Jenny, you can jump in as well. Don't you think that it feels like right now we're at a point almost like with gun sense legislation that people are, it's like the American way of doing things. We've come to the point where we're going, all right, this is the casualties of what's going to happen, but I want to keep living my life, and some people may not make it, but I don't want to interfere with my life, so to speak. And I think I may be a little guilty of that as well, because I've gotten all 4 shots. I got my meningitis shot because I'm in an undisclosed location where there's an outbreak. If there's a monkeypox shot, I will get a monkeypox, vaccine.
I know.
If I go anywhere indoors, I wear my mask because but I'm trying to stay outdoors as much as I can. And I caught COVID. And I'm crediting the vaccine and science because I was only sick for about 12 hours. And I tested positive. I did my home test that the government sent me. So I'm so grateful of being able to catch that. And then I went to and got my other test. And so now I'm waiting for the 5 days and then take the test again. So in my view, I'm trying to be as personally responsible as I can but I'm also trying to protect other people because I know I'm still maybe contagious, and so.
I got a question for you, Christian, because I do know, and I hope you don't mind me. We've said this on the show. You've had COVID before, but you were unvaccinated at that time because it was pre-release of the mass vaccine. Yes. So compare and contrast how you felt from the first time you got it to this one. How differently were they pre-vax versus post-vax?
Totally different. The first time, it was like a 2-week thing. 1 week was just really, really sick. I had delusions when I was sleeping because I was sweating and didn't know where I was at. It was very different. Yeah. This one just felt like I had embarrassed to say this, like a hangover. Yeah. I threw up. I threw up. I couldn't hold stuff down. But I rested.
That's what my son told me today. He thought he had a hangover and he just tested positive.
That's what I thought it was. I thought, well, maybe because I had champagne, beer, and liquor. I thought, well, maybe I'm not used to that, but that's what it felt like. And then I, had a runny nose for a while, and then now I felt this way, for the last 6 days. So I'm grateful for the vaccine because I can tell there's a huge difference. But at the same time, I'm thinking, as what Dr. B said, did I take the 4th shot too early? And because I know that when we come in fall and the winter, it's going to come around again, and I'm going to have to, wear a mask. So. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if I answered your question, Bart.
It's just a very problematic thing, and people have just unfortunately gotten tired of caring about others and wearing a mask and being careful and whatnot. And Americans want their freedom. At the same time, if you look at the numbers around the world, as far as I know, we're not a whole lot different. So, I don't think you can say that the political situation in the United States and the social situation is responsible for us doing well or poorly. It's just kind of the damn bug. And my understanding is there's little higher outbreaks here and there and whatnot. But in general, I don't think that the United States as a whole is that much of an outlier to what's going on in other countries.
But you know what, Dr. B, you made a very good point. And Jen, I don't know if y'all feel the same. Barbara, tell me how you feel. I just feel safer. I mean, I feel safer because I know that our new leadership they're not saying, oh, it doesn't exist.
But they're science based.
Exactly.
That's what Biden said at the first.
Exactly.
Base this on science. Yeah.
Yeah. So for some reason, even though I may not, exactly. So maybe I may not be safer, but I feel safer.
Well, you are safer because the vaccines are available, and we even have like that Paxlovid stuff, which I took, which makes you safer. So there's a whole lot of protections available, and the strain right now, even though it's much more infectious, is not as lethal as the original strains were. So we're better off, but we're kind of left with this nasty kind of thing that's going to be around for a while. So just God willing, keep your fingers crossed that it doesn't mutate into a much more lethal variant. And my understanding is that the nature of viruses is that they do tend to get milder over time, maybe more infectious, contagious, but it's not like suddenly you're going to kill everybody in the world. I guess that's always possible because it's nature. But in general, I think it's just going to become a nuisance, killing a few hundred people, but not like we experienced at the first.
Well, and you're exactly right, Dr. B. I follow a PhD, a Dr. Eric Topol on Twitter that is, his disciplines are in infectious disease and things like that, and writes for several publications. And he's kind of said the exact same thing that you did, and a couple other things that, that we're going to we're trying to figure out how to live with it. And instead of, there's a lot of, they're studying China's approach versus the United States approach. And what are the things that China faces that we don't is one, that their baby boom generation is massive. So when you're thinking about their population above 65, it's in the hundreds of millions. It's larger than the population of the entire United States.
Oh, wow.
They don't have the luxury of letting it run wild. And a lot of people forget that. They think it's just because they're a communist country. But in some of these countries that have an abnormally large older population because of the historical things like World War II, that China did not fare. One of the front lines of World War II was in China. So after World War II ended and Japan surrendered, obviously they had a baby boom as well. And they also wanted to grow the population and become more economically dominant, and then switch to a one-child policy for several years as well. So they're a very top-heavy and bottom-heavy country. So a contagion like COVID would be absolutely devastating to a country like that. And I guess where I was going with that is that I believe the United States, because we have a more balanced population, and we have a lot of people in this country that, quite frankly, go, if it kills my neighbor, it is what it is. There's no other way to say that. I mean, so we do have a history of shooting each other too. I mean, and I'm not trying to make light of it, but there is a uniquely rough edge to Americans, the air quotes rugged individualism.
Yeah.
And even the most learned doctors and experts on this are all saying, well, there's no way we're going back policy wise. We're not going to go put another lockdown. There is no political will to do that unless, of course, unless you start seeing 5, 6, 7,000 people dying in a day, and it just shuts us down just because of the fear. But Americans are going to look at it and go, well, that's still less than cancer and heart disease. So it is what it is. I'll put on my mask sometimes. I'll sometimes do it in my grocery store. I'm vaxxed as much as I'm willing to do. And I think to answer Barb's question, it's the same way as going in a casino. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But if you're hell-bent on going to that casino, it is what it is. And I wish there was another answer. I wouldn't want any of my loved ones or friends to die of COVID. But I don't think we're going to be able to force people to do the right thing anymore. And it's just where we are politically.
Sure.
If I could say one thing, I've got a friend that's a physician, and he's an immunologist. And he just told me that he's as confused about the directions that are coming from the different level of doctors like Dr. B was discussing. But please, if you're at home and you get COVID and you've had the vaccines and you've had the boosters, but you have a reaction that is bad, please tell your doctor and let your doctor report this as an adverse drug reaction, because it's the pharmaceutical companies that are making these vaccines and the boosters. They need to know so they can tweak it and make it better. They only tested it in a certain population, and it just makes sense as more and more people take it, certain other things are going to happen. If they don't know these reactions are happening, they can't make it better, or they can't research it, report it. The two people that really ripped my head off about this, I said, but you had such a bad reaction. What did your doctor say? Oh, I didn't tell him. And I just
so how serious was it? Right?
And I just said, but they need to know this so they can make it better.
Sure.
They can't operate in a vacuum. And plus, they still don't know the long-term effects of COVID. So at least let's be rational, if that's even possible in the United States anymore. But I just wanted to put it out there in a public forum to let people know, because maybe they don't know they're supposed to report it. And if they don't, they want to know this. Every drug company wants to know that if they've given you a vaccine, a booster, a pill, if you had a reaction to it and you felt sick or you were scared or knew something wasn't wrong, tell your doctor so he can report it or she can report it, and let them do their jobs and help us, and let's try to make it better, because I was just surprised that people didn't know they were supposed to tell somebody.
Oh, and Barbara, and I don't know the details of your friend's situation, but my guess is that what they view as a very serious reaction, probably to a doctor in a pharmaceutical company, is probably not, or they would have. In other words, I heard about some lady whose husband kind of thought he had a stroke after getting. Well, nobody's going to sit around the house thinking I had a stroke and not report it. So, if he threw up or he kind of had a rash, or I don't know what he had, but if it truly were a serious adverse drug reaction, ADR, I bet most people would let their doctor know. I mean, come on, it's terrifying. So it probably was not as serious as you might be led to think. I don't know. It'd be interesting to know.
And we are up against the break. So
I don't know if they're drama queens or not. So
there you go.
Okay. Go ahead, Jen. I'm sorry, Jen. Go ahead.
Yeah, we are up against a commercial break, so we will break for a second, and we'll be right back. Up next is Two Queers in a Truck with Jenny and Christian. And hope you guys tune in. We'll see you in about 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you. Bye.
All right, well, welcome back, and thank you so much. This has been a very interesting topic, and I feel guilty for even thinking this, but this gets us good ratings when I say things like this. But, we've been talking about over the last 2.5 years that the states that were anti-vaxxers tend to be more red states. Their mortality rate has increased over the last 3 years. And I know we sometimes have joked about, well, maybe those aren't the ones that I'm sad that are not voting because they're leaving us. And because as a pro-life person, I hate to say it, but I almost feel to the point what you're saying, Barbara, is when someone says, I had a reaction, whatever, I would say, what's better than death? I mean, think about it. So that's why, like for me, who's got my 4th booster of vaccines, I'm embarrassed. Well, I don't know if I'm embarrassed, but I don't have a lot of sympathy for people who are in denial at this stage, because I'm like, maybe Darwin needs to win this battle. Maybe those, and I don't feel bad for saying it, but I've convinced myself, and I'm like, I'm tired of fighting with these people who are anti this and anti that. Maybe you're the ones that we don't need, and I want to save the other people. You know what I mean? And so
I understand. Yeah.
Well, here's a couple of things too. And we have gotten to this point of this pandemic that's probably going to shift to being an endemic type thing, like the flu season and all that. Is that one that if you really are that worried about adverse reactions, there's a lot of alternatives that are a lot worse, and you can get a reaction to anything. When I was about 7 years old, I was being treated for pneumonia, and they put me on a medication, an antibiotic, that after I got the shot, I got home, and I was covered in a rash from.
Oh, yes.
But it was better than getting sicker from pneumonia. And so the alternative is that I had 104, 105 fever. I'm 7 years old, and they just, I went back the next day and they gave me a different type of shot. But it was better to start some type of treatment and begin getting my fever down and saving my life, because Dr. B knows 104, 105 fever for a 7-year-old is not real pretty for the brain. And probably explains a lot about why I am the way I am.
That's terrible.
I'm telling on myself. I've been between cooking the noodle noggin and playing too many years of foosball. I'm lucky every time if I don't drool and pee my pants. But anyway, it's one of those things that I think is just kind of like the way people have some deeply held beliefs about crazy conspiracy theories and everything else. You can't save them all. And if I had an advice to anybody, and I know that there's at least 3 of us on here are probably I'd call bleeding hearts, where we want to save as much of humanity as we can. Some of them, just like fishing, you do have to throw them back.
Yeah.
And inner peace goes a long ways.
Yeah. I agree. We only have about 7 minutes left, and I hear what you're saying, Barbara, because I'm concerned about, for example, my parents are in their 70s, almost 80s, and I've made sure that I've told them, my mom won't get that 4th booster shot, and she's like, well, I don't, and I'm like, well, then Mom, you're just going to have to stay home. you know, and then she's like, well, it's so hot here, and the governor's telling us that the electricity is going to go out, and you know, so they got their own like issues they're worried about. Of course, I'm like, well, then maybe you need a new governor, you know.
Maybe you don't vote for that governor this time.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so, you know, I'm trying to convince my family members, you know, hey, listen, these, as Jenny always says, the tools are there to protect you, to accept personal responsibility. I can't force you to take that shot. I hope you do, because life would be so much better if you were still with us.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's the only thing I can think of as a pro-life person, is trying to convince someone. And that's why, you know, I know this is going off the topic with this, the abortion issue. I'm pro-life, and I want to do everything I can to make sure that people make decisions that will help them. But it's not they've got to make the decision that's best for them. And whatever decision they make, I'm going to be there trying to help them and do what they can. And that's kind of how I feel about the vaccination situation now is I'm hoping that people will take them. I've taken all of them, as many as I can, and I believe in science. But the ones that can't, I can't feel guilty anymore by worrying about them. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, there's nothing
I
wrong with that.
understand. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on that note, Jen, you want to say?
Well,
I tell you what I'm waiting for, and this is never going to happen, is to hear the Fox News late night folks like Laura Ingraham and these others kind of say, we were wrong about hydroxychloroquine, and we were wrong about ivermectin, and it's so obvious now, and you know, blah blah blah. And that's I don't know how they can continue with this when history is just so solidly proved them wrong. But obviously that's their skill, and that's why they have shows, is that they can talk around anything without admitting that they were ever kind of wrong. But oh my God, you know, you were talking about Jenny. I think you said you follow this doctor. Well, you know, that was very dangerous. There was this Dr. Scott Atlas, who was at one time Trump czar. He's a radiologist. It's like radiologists don't know jack about viruses or immunizations, but you know, it's because he looked good on TV, Trump, you know, hired him. It's like, oh my goodness, God. So anyway, it's I'm glad that part hopefully is kind of behind us, but something new will come up.
Well, maybe the lawsuit against Fox News will get rid of all of them for us.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah. Well, we have Bannon to keep an eye on, right?
Oh yeah.
We'll see.
So
anyway,
we're gonna, you know, we value everyone's time, and thank you, Dr. B, for coming back, and we appreciate it. We haven't seen you in a while. Look like you've
anytime.
You look like you're working out and doing all kinds of
no.
stuff. And your hair looks marvelous. So we're going to go around we're going to go around the Brady Bunch screen in 30 seconds or less. Tell us who you're going to be until our next show. And so we'll start with Jenny, Dr. B, and then Barb. Go ahead, Jen.
Well, the next place I'm going to be, or where you're going to see me, is Two Queers in a Truck. It's coming on right about 30 minutes right after this. So if you think we let loose on this show, well, obviously a show called Two Queers in a Truck, we'd probably let loose quite a bit. As far as doing any outdoor activities, I haven't done too much lately. I was taking care of somebody that just went through a bypass surgery, or not bypass, but a heart replacement, and so
no minor deal.
Yeah, so that kind of kept me occupied a little bit for an emergency basis. And I'm kind of staying out of big crowds for a little while because I got to save all my karma and COVID and all that for Pride weekend next month. So I'm really hoping to see the numbers go down. I am going to get my fourth booster before that, just to be boosted up for Pride. I hope many LGBT fans of mine that are watching this show, or allies that plan on going to Charlotte Pride, if you haven't been boosted, may not be a bad idea to get boosted, you know, early enough before Charlotte Pride and you get out in a big old crowd. But most of all, always check with your personal physician and or your pharmacist. They are the best resource for you. They know your ins and outs of your health care and can best advise you. And I encourage anybody that I care about to ultimately help make an informed decision rather than listening to anybody on the Twitter machine or the TV machine or the Google machine. Ultimately, trust the people that you trust for everything else that you take care of in your medical life. Dr. B?
Yeah, I don't have any huge, big plans. I spoke to the North Carolina Senior Democrat State Convention about Medicare and some issues facing it last week. I don't have any other events kind of planned. Try to get outdoors as much as we can here in beautiful Colorado, and always kind of having something in mind about Medicare for all and these other great issues. And having taken up banjo last year, there is a couple hours of banjo practice every day. So yes, indeed, we're plugging. I'm growing my calluses every day. So that's all been great. Yeah, life is good.
Hi, everybody. Apologize for being late tonight. And I want to thank Dr. B for coming and updating us. I really appreciate it, Dr. B. Thank you.
Anytime.
I, as well as Jenny, am helping our friend that had a heart transplant. And that's why I was so late tonight. I didn't get home and didn't know that I didn't have internet until I tried to turn everything on. And I have 2 neighbors that I could normally go to, and they go to bed at 7:30. I'm like, oh my God. So I have a bunch of, I live in an elderly section of my neighborhood, and I'm like, oh my God. So I woke my one neighbor up, and she was very understanding and let me come in her house. But I'm like, I need to do this. So other than that, I'm really staying out of things right at the moment and trying to stay home and get my own house in order. But other than that, thank you for tonight, everybody. And I'm just going to be home for a little while, I hope.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And I'm going to continue to be in an undisclosed location for the entire month of July. Next week's show, we are going to recap a year ago this month. There was a Free Cuba movement, and we did a show on that. We want to go back and say, what happened with all of that? Or was it just a big publicity from Trump supporters? And so we want to look back at what happened to the Free Cuba movement. I do want to say that this last couple of days, I was getting kind of down because of what's going on in the country and, everything. And, I'm trying to find something positive. I was sitting next to, or 3 stools down, a young man who was in the military, and he was actually on the ship. Do y'all remember that ship that caught COVID?
Yeah.
Okay. He was on that ship, and I asked him about it. He told me that the crew was so upset that the captain was let go because the captain was doing everything he could to protect them, and they had to anchor in Guam, and they had to isolate each other. There was no vaccinations at that time, and the captain was so concerned about the crew that he had spoke up, and he said, "Listen, this is," and he was punished by Trump and the Secretary of Defense, if y'all remember that.
Yeah.
I was so inspired because, of course, he can't be political because he's in the military. He told me that his generation was doing everything they could to support the president. The Gen Xers that were some of the officers were very political. They were all, the Democrats are doing this and so forth. And I was so inspired to know that this millennial generation that we talk about, I hope is going to save America. They get it. I just wanted to leave on that because I'm inspired that our next generation, at least the ones I'm meeting, that I'm inspired that things are going to look okay because they're the ones going to have to take care of Jenny and I, and we take care of Dr. B and y'all.
Yeah, let's take care of Dr. B and me too. So
yeah, that's right. That's right. All right. Anything else, Jen, before we end the show? Okay. All right. With that, y'all, I want to thank everyone so much for joining us on Coffee Pan Dulce. We'll be dance out, and don't forget to join 2 Queers in a Truck. Bye, y'all. See you next week.
bye.
There we go.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for watching another episode of Coffee Pan Dulce. And stay safe out there. There's a little bit of monkeypox going around, and probably a whole lot of monkey business. Have a great week. See you next week.
Hey, y'all. See you next week.
Bye.
Next up, thanks for watching Coffee and Pan Dulce. Next up is 2 Queers in a Truck. Stay tuned.